I am Bronwyn, and I'm all about keeping you confident in moments of conflict. And this week, we're talking about when we shake when we speak, when our voice quivers, when we're trying to give a talk or when we're in a meeting, when we start shaking and it feels uncontrollable. Does that ever happen to you? That's what we're talking about today. Like and subscribe, and don't miss an episode. When you start shaking or your voice starts quivering in a meeting, there are two things going on here. There's physiology going on and there's psychology going on. And if there's anything we've learned from neuroscience, it is that you cannot manage your psychology until you've managed your physiology. What's the first thing you think I'm gonna recommend for when you start to shake or your voice starts to quiver or you start to just get twitchy in a meeting? Yes, good guess, breath. Why is breath so important? Because here's the thing. When we feel attacked, when we feel nervous and scared and like something terrible is about to happen, which is what that feeling feels like, we are basically in a flight, fight, or freeze cycle, which means that we are panicking, right? And our species, human beings, developed to respond that way to danger for good reason, right? It kept us safe from saber-toothed tigers. It helped us outrun people that were trying to catch us and eat us, right? Here's the thing. That meeting you're in, there is no tiger. There might be a grouchy CEO or an annoying coworker, or you might just be afraid of public speaking, but there is no tiger. So when we breathe, we tell that ancient part of our brain to calm down, that there is no tiger. So when you start to feel yourself get twitchy and uncontrollably start shaking, or your breath gets ragged, or your voice starts quivering, the first thing I want you to do is breathe. And not just any old breath. I want to see a nostril-based breathing. Why? Because when we breathe through our noses, that air travels from our belly, right? And that sends a signal to our brain to calm down, because we usually only breathe through our nose when we are very relaxed. In fact, you can see, even just by doing that, you can tell that my energy calmed down a little bit. It's amazing. Breath controls heart rate. And when your heart rate is steady and your breath is deep, you calm down and you stop shaking. Isn't that great? So that's managing the physiology. But let's talk about the psychology, because that's actually the bigger issue. How do we manage our psychology? Here's the thing. If you're starting to shake and quiver and twitch and freak out in a meeting, part of it is that you're in fight, flight, or freeze, but that reaction is caused because you are telling yourself a mental story that is freaking you out. Maybe you're telling yourself, oh my God, I'm not prepared. Oh my God, these people are staring at me. Oh my God, the CEO thinks I'm an idiot. Right? These are all mental stories we tell ourselves. Or as Ben Kiker, who is my beloved business coach, says, it's our insane thought generators. This mind of ours is capable of amazing things. It is also capable of lunacy. And he calls it the insane thought generator, the ITG. And that insane thought generator is usually pumping garbage into our minds in moments like that if we haven't calmed our breathing down. But here's the good news. The good news about our egos and that constant storytelling going on is that there's usually a pattern to it. There's no new tricks. It's the same garbage your brain has been telling you your whole damn life. And there's probably only 3 or 4 different stories that are in your repertoire. The I'm not enough story, that everything has to be perfect or it's a disaster story, that perfectionism BS that we tell ourselves. Who am I less than? Who am I greater than in the room? Scarcity. There's not enough time. There's not enough budget. There's not enough resources. All of these mental narratives we tell ourselves are what causes the panic and the quaking and the shaking in our voice. If you want to get that voice under control, if you want to be calm and still and present and powerful and ready to play ball, you're going to need to get control of those stories. And that begins by identifying what are your go-to junk thoughts. I call them junk thoughts. For me, my go-to junk thought is inferiority. It's feeling less than. When I feel less than, I feel exposed. When I feel exposed, I feel vulnerable to attack. When I feel vulnerable to attack, the heart starts beating and I start getting that shaky voice garbage. What do I do to manage my psychology? What do I tell my clients when they're getting ready for these big moments on camera or on television or on stage or wherever? I tell them to pick the junk thought that is most likely to hijack them in whatever the situation, whatever the meeting is. Pick one and replace that junk thought with a mantra that calms you and that makes you strong. And my favorite mantra of all time that helps me get over feeling less than is this one. Are you ready? I know what I know. They know what they know. Together we will know more. Because absolutely without a doubt, for me, my inferiority is triggered by feeling like I'm not smart enough. It is something I have struggled with my entire life. It could be because my dad and his friends thought it was hilarious to tell me blonde jokes all the time as I was a child growing up. You know, blonde jokes, that blonde women are idiots. I'm sure they thought that was just a real hoot, but it left a mark. So when I go into a meeting, I feel inferior intellectually. I feel outmatched intellectually. And so for me, that mantra, I know what I know, they know what they know, together we'll know more, helps me stand in what I do know and what I am good at, or what I am in the process of learning and becoming, right? That's the power of a mantra. So managing our psychology has to do with getting crystal clear. What are the junk thoughts we are pumping through our brains? But the other thing we need to get clear about psychologically is that when we're in a meeting, if we're starting to panic, it is a telltale sign that we have made this meeting all about us, that we are making this talk we have to give all about us. Here's the thing. It's never about us. It's about them. It's about serving the audience. It's about doing something in a meeting that is helpful. It is being of service to others that brings out our best as communicators. When we make it about us, it becomes a great big freaking ego trip, and we start stressing and worrying, and then the junk thoughts go. I get so nervous before I give a big talk in front of an audience. If it's like 800 people, 1,000 people, things like that, I get really triggered and my breath starts getting ragged as I'm getting mic'd up in the wings, right? I'm standing, this is back when we were face to face, and hopefully that'll return soon, but I'd be standing there and the mic people are putting my mic on, and as they're doing that, my heart starts racing. My breath starts getting ragged, right? I start making it about me. And in that moment, if I can remember to say to myself, this is not about me. This is about this audience. It's about giving them something they can dance to. And it's about being a good teacher and a good entertainer, not for my own sake, but for theirs. And that thought, whew, as soon as I get that going, I'm ready to slay, right? When I'm about to go out on stage, if I can remember it is not about me, it is about them, it gives me the power I need to get out there and make it happen. But here's another trick. Right before I go out on stage, right before I get in a hairy meeting or do something I'm afraid to do, I combine managing physiology with psychology. How? Power poses, right? Power poses are poses you strike that send signals to your brain that everything's going to be okay. In fact, not only is it okay, it's fabulous. Wonder Woman pose is hands on hips. You could be Superman if you're a man watching this, or you could be a Wonder Woman. We're equal opportunity. That pose sends a signal to your brain that everything's fine, that you got this. In fact, I just thought of a story. I was about to give a talk this week. It was a virtual keynote. It was about 400 people watching. And as I'm being introduced, one of the participants very good-naturedly put in the chat, my expectations are very high. Let's see what she does this time. And instantly, my insane thought generator, as Ben Kiker says, was like, oh, high expectations. Is it good? Am I okay? Is this good enough? Am I holding the standard of my own brand high enough in this talk I'm about to give? And I caught that thought and I replaced it. And I said out loud to the audience, I read them the quote that the person had posted, and I said, I eat high expectations for breakfast. Let's go. And I began my talk. And that's an example of, like, there are those moments where life throws you a curveball and you start to feel panicky. You can stop it. You can breathe replace it with a mantra, and get back on track. And that's the name of the game, my friends. So give it a try. Like and subscribe. Don't miss an episode. This is where we solve these issues together. Where else are you going to talk about this stuff? It seems like nobody teaches this as we're coming up in our careers, so this is where we talk about it. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining me. If you are really working on this, I want to invite you to noenemy.bronwyncommunications.com. I have built a masterclass for dealing with tough conversations, especially in the client services business, but this class works for anybody dealing with tricky conversations at work. Head over to my podcast if you want to go deeper into this art and science of communication, 20 Minutes with Bronwyn, and go to my website, bronwyncommunications.com, so that you can get fresh communication tips delivered every Monday to your email box. Shine on. We need your light.